advantage 1.
Gender.
Advantage, and then the RICO advantage.
Okay.
And then the politics this ad.
Okay.
And then the counterpoint.
They say we have to pass student-led assessment. This is silly. First, they say that Congress solves better, but besides solving our gender advantage better, I do not know what you could solve better. If we want to risk a dis added the counterplan, that will outweigh any residual link, especially in a world in which they have conceded that we can make a substantial dent into gender violence. I don't know what propensity they think they can solve just a tad bit more. If there's another piece of legislation somewhere that'd be that more inclusive where this is identified in the cross-examination. They say that they will also want to address substantial dissent. Listen, the politics is an if-then statement. Even if they win some of their impact turns, the permutation that revokes all of Congress's authority would still link to the link that we read to this, which proves that the permutation still links. It's only a win-win situation for us, which proves that we don't have to win any more politics this ad, even though we will always win. They say that democracy solves tyranny, that turns all of our case advantages. There's not any reason why tyranny turns all the case advantages. I saw the question mark in your face when you said this doesn't make any sense. Why this would internally turn all of our advantages. Advantage 1, they say the states solve now. Listen, they've conceded our Hagen evidence indicates that Title 3, which was jeopardized under Morrison, is being used as a requisite to cut off all Title 2 funding, which is the only funding states have for localized programs. They have functionally not come to grips with it, which is irrelevant also in a world in which they're going for the counterpoint. They say that the court needs to be changed, so they have the only evidence for this. Not such our Johnson evidence says we must overturn Morrison, which is the key reason why we could reshape societal cultures. Our Bhagwat evidence indicates that the Supreme Court, as the nation's highest court, is the only one that can shape cultural within society, the cultural norms and attitudes, which proves that even if the counterpoint includes one more piece of progressive legislation, it won't do anything at changing the public's mindset, security, and domestic violence, which is what all of our evidence indicates that the court signal, e.g. the McKinnon evidence, about why the court signal legitimizes domestic violence. This is the Johnson and the Bhagwat evidence. They don't have a piece of evidence that indicates that Congress can be liberatory for women or that they can shape societal norms and societal norms surrounding gender violence, which make nuclear war inevitable. That's the one I see. New York Times evidence. Advantage 3, they say there's no retaliation. Listen, their evidence is from 1999 that talks about no retaliation for further specificity of our evidence happened after September 11th. It says if there's another terrorist attack, we would go nuclear. This time this will support nuclear retaliation throughout the world. They say that there's no propensity for it would lead to extinction, but we would still lead to a nuclear war. And the interim period, they've also conceded the Steinbrenner evidence that indicates that a biological pathogen could lead to the total population. It's also empirical because it cites a 1918 president that almost took out the entire of the world's population. The politics this ad. Listen, at the top, we win our terrorism and our economy scenarios here that will outweigh them because it's a short-term type of impact. If we can short-circuit an oncoming terrorist attack in the status quo, our 1AC urban evidence indicates that will quickly be copied around globally, that will ignite biological weapons attack that leads to extinction and lead to U.S. retaliation that leads to a global nuclear war. This would be the quickest time frame because their public participation would take a long decade. Additionally, none of their evidence indicates that they would be able to solve a nuclear conflict. It just says things like nuclear weapons continue to possess any public participation around them. We also have the surest internal link here. They say that all of our evidence only talks about air speakers. Listen, we have a bunch of pieces of evidence here, and I will document our internal links here. The ASA point is our language speakers. This was the original Tracy Johnson evidence indicates that harsh immigration laws means that we cannot recruit immigrants who are critical to speaking the language, the different types of languages that are important in fighting terrorism. The BISA point is resources. This was also that piece of evidence in red in the 1AR that indicates that when we spend so much time trying to down illegal immigrants, we trade off with resources necessary to fight terrorism. CISA point is that we can document Mexicans that are coming up there that may be carrying nuclear weapons, and we can also get intelligence from them, which is critical to solving for them. And soft power, their soft power takes a long time, is irrelevant because our evidence indicates that immigrant, and when we are harsh towards immigrants, it says that we are an xenophobic nation that nobody wants to cooperate with, and that cooperation is critical to solving terrorism. They say that we face lower paying jobs. If this isn't true, we have a couple of internal links to the economy. Our PR Newswire evidence indicates that we are critical to labor shortages that are threatening economic growth. Our Stock and Johnson evidence indicates that when we are tied them, we exclude people who are willing to pay taxes that are critical to the economy. This evidence also indicates that important sectors of our economy, like those like researchers and scientists and different types of tourist industries, are all cut off by harsh immigration laws, and those are important sectors of our economy. She does not have any type of internal link evidence. Here's the tiebreaker. We read a piece of Sacramento Bee evidence indicates that immigration reform solves the social security crisis, which is the internal link linked to the aging crisis. They have conceded a piece of Peterson evidence from the get-go that indicates that this outweighs all of the scenarios. There was not an answer to this in the last speech, which means a conceded scenario should outweigh the rest of them because it's the most probable. They say that they lead to higher paying jobs. That's above. They say environmental destruction. Listen, there's no environmental destruction. 99% of species dies, and the evidence is all meteoritic. This all evidence is also based upon economic growth, which they are trying to access as well. They say that we would divert resources as stands above because we allow them to focus resources when we can document them. They the agriculture debate. They have conceded there's a Chinese alternate causality that China will force us to collapse our agricultural industry. They did not answer this argument, which proves we should have to answer the rest of this. Additionally, your evidence is just talking about legalizing immigration altogether. Our evidence talks about immigration reform with those immigrants that are already within the country. They say that dumping leads to terrorism. This evidence in the bottom line and the partially underlined but not read part of the card indicates that economic growth can ward off terrorism, which proves if we get our economy impacts and we eventually get there. They say that Ukraine's at the crossroads, but listen, this is irrelevant because we've not collapsed all of agriculture anyway. And they say population growth, but then you can see the argument this is not specific to the United States. And okay, yeah, that's fair enough. And they say population growth, but the population growth is also answered above because it's not global population growth. And they've conceded that if we were to stabilize economies, other countries would not have to come over here in the first place. Let the counterplan. I'm sorry, we're not going to go for the permutation because that would take out our politics this out, which I just spent 3 minutes on. We will extend across the day and solve the lower courts. We have read 3 pieces of Barnes evidence. These evidence on fire indicates that whenever you take away courts' power, they don't always want to abide by the Supreme Court decision. They don't always want to abide by the congressional decision because they're pissed off about it. This means that they would not be able to fall. They say they changed the doctrine about the Supreme Court, but that's not true because lower courts will simply ignore what they do. They say it leads to accountability. They wouldn't lead to accountability because they are pissed off about it. This was embarrassing classic because they did not have a piece of evidence on this type of question. They say on the independent judiciary, they say that the athletes that this had, the athletes linked to this, and we did not read the legitimacy to this. Our Carnes evidence indicates that the counterpoint would collapse the independent judiciary. If both sides would collapse democracy, then it's irrelevant. It's about a short-term economic collapse, which the Apple access law for.
I was just thinking.
Yes.